Hi there, I'm Dr. Myrdalis Diaz-Ramirez, and this is the Design Your Physician Life podcast. Welcome to this episode brought to you by our Maxillary Mastermind, an exclusive mastermind for physician entrepreneurs. Today, we have a very special guest, Dr. David Rosenblum. He is from the PainExam platform and the PainExam Podcast. We had a great conversation with Dr. Rosenblum about taking advantage of your free time, and we call it the Efficient Physician Entrepreneur. Are you ready? Let's go!
Welcome to the Design Your Physician Life podcast, where you will get excited about being a physician, learn the tools that can help boost your success, and great tips from successful doctors. Join us to unlock the keys to an amazing physician life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Myrdalis Diaz-Ramirez.
Hey guys, I'm very excited to have today Dr. David Rosenblum. He is a interventional pain management physician, just like I have been for the last 20 years. He's coming from New York here today. So thank you for being here. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Dr. Rosenblum isn't only an interventional pain management specialist, he's dual board certified in anesthesia and pain management. He actually went to medical school in Tel Aviv, Israel. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm super excited to hear more about that. He's grown and he's a fellow podcaster too. He has worked the PainExam, anesthesia exam, and the PMRE exam. And he actually has courses to help physicians get these tests. He's also working on an international pain school, and he's going to tell us all about that. So tell us how you're doing today. You're in sunny. So today, actually, before we forget, he's in New York right now, and it's August 2022. And you guys cannot see this, but he's under the umbrella with his shades and having what seems to be a good time by the beach, right?
That's right. I actually took a screenshot for you. Yeah, we're at a beach club in New York. Every sunny day, especially in the summer, you need to really make the most of it. So we're fortunate enough to join a beach club. And there's actually a very well-known pain doctor here. I'm going to keep his name out of this, but some of you might know. So.
Say hello.
Will do.
So before we start with your most recent career, which is really inspiring to many of us, let's talk about the beginnings. Like where did you get your inspiration as a child, or maybe in high school later or college, to become a physician?
I grew up in the 80s watching Star Wars like everyone else and these Superman movies. And the closest thing to being a superhero was being a doctor. And so that just seemed like the obvious choice. It wasn't even really much to think about. And I wasn't until I was probably 15 or 16 when I was working as a lifeguard in a health club. And a member there had a heart attack in the locker room. And I was sitting by the pool, watching the indoor pool. And they're like, somebody's having problems in the locker room. You want to go check on him? I go, okay. I get there. I didn't expect to find someone complete cardiac arrest. And I did the whole CPR thing. In the end, he wound up passing away. But I knew I did what I was trained and I did it properly and I kept it together. And that kind of gave me the encouragement to say, I'm going to do this and go to med school and follow through. I mean, I love science and it just made sense. I remember when they were telling me back in the 90s, don't go into medicine. There's no money in medicine. This is when Clinton was in charge. And I'm happy I didn't listen to them. Not because there's so much money, just because it's my passion. I'm very lucky to be in this field, especially pain management, which I love. And it's also led me to so many different wonderful, relationships as well as endeavors.
I have chills, I have to tell you, because one of the things, we're both anesthesiologists, we're both interventional pain management, and you say things that I say, like, I'm so honored really to have become a physician. The opportunities that being a physician gives you in life, they're unlike many other opportunities that you could have in doing some other things. So I'm really fortunate about that as well. I want to ask you, like you say, like superhero and then saving somebody. And that's precisely what anesthesiologists do. I say that they say that we say from the surgeon, and then being an interventional pain physician, we're like a surgeon and we're also an anesthesiologist, which is kind of funny. But we do save patients as anesthesiology. So I'm with you. It's like a superhero is
Yeah,
an acquired skill.
that's right. And even as pain doctors, we do. It's not so obvious, but when people's health deteriorates because they're bedbound or they're at higher risk for blood clots, it's not really as direct the life-saving as a pain doctor. But if you treat their pain, you're going to prolong their life in most cases.
Yeah, and from when I decided to become a physician myself, I don't know when you had that switch, an interventional pain physician from anesthesiology to this other career. To me, it was this, I have to say, like a cheesy moment, like a Norman Rockwell painting where you have this physician and all the family around them. That's how I picture that moment when I decided to become an interventional pain physician, was because my mentor was looking at this food for this girl. And it wasn't only about the girl and her foot pain, it was about the whole family, and how taking care of her was really affecting the whole unit. It was
Right.
pretty impressive for me to see that. I don't know. Tell me how you decided to become an interventional pain doctor.
Well, I guess it started when I was in med school, and I was first not sure what I wanted to do. And I got to the point where I'm like, well, I think I should do either ER or anesthesia because I just don't want that continuity of care. Ha ha ha. I mean, that's all I have now is continuity of care. But basically, I remember doing 2 or 3 ER rotations, and I did a rotation during 9/11 in New York, which was kind of interesting as well. But I did, after coming out of an ER in Israel, Montefiore and Jacoby in the Bronx, and then North Shore in Long Island, I got to my first day of anesthesia at Bellevue. We intubated. My attending looked at me and goes, "Why don't you grab breakfast?" And coming from a very busy ER rotation, I was like, whoa, I can't believe he offered me breakfast. I mean, I'm not used to having a break. So that was a nice thing. But what really did it was watching the ultrasound brachial plexus box. We had a very busy hand service at Bellevue, and a lot of the patients were people who had traumatic amputations of their digits, and these are 12-hour-long surgeries. We would do intraclavicular brachial plexus blocks. Back then we didn't even have block kits. We just used epidural kits, and we'd stick a 2E needle right here and run an epidural catheter for postoperative pain as well as.
So right here, he's pointing to the shoulder,
Yes,
and he's running a 2E needle, which is a needle that we use mainly for what we call epidural anesthesia in the spine, and then that's the needle that he's running to his shoulder right now.
That's right. So I forgot they can't see me. Anyway, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. People were getting operated on, and they were wide awake, or Versa, fentanyl, but they were talking to you, and their hand was cut open in front of you. So I said, I got to do this. So I did it, and then I wasn't even going to do a fellowship because at that point I was ready to just go out into the world. And I went on a few job interviews, and I realized that I needed more. I needed more options. I needed more, I guess, career options, as well as more. I'm a very creative person. I love to create new things. And in pain management, there's always something new coming out there. Not necessarily I'm creating it, but stuff that I'm doing that's new, learning new stuff. So I was in my third year, October of my third year, I did a really good job on my rotation. So I knew they liked me, but it was also third year going for pain, which was even back then.
So third year of residency, we're talking about.
Residency, of anesthesia residency. And by the grace of God, there was a spot, and I got in, and it was probably the best decision I ever made.
I'm super happy. This all happened in Bellevue, you said, right?
It happened in Bellevue and Tisch, which are the NYU hospitals. Yeah, mainly Bellevue.
So tell me, for those of us, before we jump back into your anesthesia and into your interventional pain management career, for those of us who have never practiced at Israel, right? Like,
yes,
we would think that there are probably two different health systems. So can you give us a little bit of a rundown? What's Israel versus New York?
Sure. And I haven't, I went to med school there, and I visit, and I know people there, doctors there, but I don't fully understand the system there. What I do know of it is that many physicians will have two jobs. They'll have the job in the socialized system, where for the hospital network, where they're working until 4 o'clock, and then they'll go to their private practice afterwards. Now, for anesthesiologists, unless you're a pain doctor, it's very hard to do that. So a lot of people will, financially, I think you can make a decent living eventually, but it's very tough. It's like, I think most physicians attendings there will make what residents make here. And cost of living is quite high over there. So it's not the easiest place to work. It's a small country. As far as what goes on with the healthcare in the Palestinian side, in Gaza, West Bank, I'm not even really sure. I do know that we were offered to do rotations over there, which we were going to do, but then the Intifada occurred while I was there, so they closed that off to us.
Wow, that's amazing. You know, as medical students, we really don't know much, and yet we have already done so much studying. So then you became a physician, an interventional pain physician, and now you have what's called the PainExam. When in your career did you start with this type of venture?
So back to, I was an anesthesia resident thinking I need to create some either invention to make the life of an anesthesiologist better or some other type of thing. And
the superhero in you, saving people. Now you're saving anesthesiologists with your inventions.
Right. I was thinking of all sorts of contraptions for the laryngoscope, but then they had the glide scope, they had the fiber optic. It was a little too far-fetched. Got to the pain fellowship, I'm like, all right, great. The boards are in a year. What am I studying for? And there really wasn't much. So that prompted me to write the book, which became a website. It was never really a book. And there was such a deficit of pain material for the boards is within 1 month, I organically shot to the top of Google because there was no one else out there. And it's been there ever since. This is 2008, probably, when it first released.
So 2008, and you were studying for your boards, right? So you're busy at work at the hospital. Did you have a family too at that time?
I had a 1-year-old, and I wasn't sleeping, and I was super stressed out because we had to take our anesthesia oral boards. I already did the written, and I had to pass that, I think, to sit for the pain boards. So it was like, between those two, and then I did a year of pain. So my anesthesia skills were iffy. I was, first year as an attending, kind of nervous about that. So it was incredibly stressful, and it was July. So there's short staff because new residents. So you're working long hours, working post call, 1 or 2 overnight calls a week. It was really tough. And at the same time, I don't know how I did it. Probably because on the calls when I had downtime, I would write questions and work on publishing the website. And of course, I knew the triage. I didn't do everything myself. I had to hire someone to help me with that.
So you did a business while you're being a dad of 1-year-old, not sleeping, having all these challenges at work, right? And what would you tell somebody right now, looking back, like you say, I don't know how I did it, but what would you tell somebody who's telling you that they don't have time or they don't know how to start something, that they're too busy or too tired right now to start something different besides being a physician?
I have general advice. Everybody walks a different path. Everybody's in a different situation. The simplest thing, and it's not always so easy or possible, is take the lemons and make lemonade. So, for instance, I'm stuck on call over the weekend. All right, well, you know what? On call, I'm not technically working 24 hours. I'm the attending. I have residents. So, or I was moonlighting at the VA when I was a pain fellow. So that was kind of slow. So when I had time at the hospital, I didn't have any family interruptions. So the hour or two that I could sit there between cases or actual duties was actually quality time because nobody was really calling me to do anything. So I would be able to crank out questions. And at the same time, I was studying for my boards and becoming a better pain physician because I was really, getting up to date on my knowledge. And it wasn't like I was just regurgitating material from a textbook. I was looking up the most recent studies. And I still do this to try to stay up to date with the questions, podcasts, and all the information that I'm giving. The other thing is once I left training and I was working, I moved out to Long Island and my job was in Brooklyn. So I had to get to Brooklyn by the OR start time, which was 7:30 a.m. Set up your room. You want to be there before 7. And the only way to make it a 40-minute commute as opposed to an hour and a half commute is by leaving at like 5:30 in the morning. So I would leave super early and get there early, and I'd have an hour to work on the pain exam, on everything. And even now I do it with my clinic, with my office hours. I'll sometimes have an hour or two before I start seeing patients where I'm in my office podcasting, editing, creating new content. So this whole thing enabled me to not be so dependent on taking extra calls like some of my colleagues do. It's not like it's making so much money, but it's making enough money that I don't need to spend overnight anesthesia calls the way many of my colleagues are. And it really, I think, improves quality of life.
So we talk about that, precisely what these ventures allow you to do. And we talk about designing your physician life and being able to practice for joy and not for need. And in your case, as you say, it has given you free time. Well, right now you're at the beach, right? You're not taking a call, an emergency call. So that has given you that opportunity. And also it has given you an outlet for your creativity and your superpowers, right? Trying to save people. So you're saving them from the exam killing them or something like that. There's super Dr. Rosenblum.
Right. We do have X-ray vision. Right?
Yeah, that's true, right? Yeah, we do so much of it that we develop some of that. So right now, how many businesses do you have besides being a practicing interventional pain doctor?
Oh, okay. So the NRAP Academy, which was formerly, it's still, I guess, technically QBazar, which I'm not crazy about that name. NRAP is basically encompassing the pain exam, the PMR exam, the anesthesia exam, all these. I created a lot of websites for board review, and some of them I dedicated everything to pain exam in the last 5-6 years. So I'm in the process of redoing, actually I redid the anesthesia exam website and I'm redoing the physiatry website called PMR exam. At the same time, underneath this umbrella, I'm rebranding QBazar as NRAP because it's more encompassing, neuromodulation, regional anesthesia, and pain academy. This is incorporating my workshops, etc. Just recently, Ala Abdullah Saeed, who's a very prolific pain physician, and he's written tons of books, publications. We've collaborated to create the International Pain Academy, which is my latest LLC. And that is something very similar to NRAP Academy, but it's going to be on a broader scale where we're offering other types of training. We have a lot of things coming out, and my ultrasound courses, many of them.
Guys, it's at the beach. That's why the fun in the background.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, no, but it's great. It's great. Like this will inspire these guys for listening to us so that they can get free time and they can have that fun too.
Right? Isn't family beach like the why, right, of everything? That's the point. It's not the money. It's the why. It's the freedom to be here. And if I have to manage a pain patient from here, I do it. I have my laptop, but I'm not. You have to. Everybody has their own formula. Just because I do something doesn't mean you need to do it that way. But there are definitely some principles I think that are applicable for many situations. I'm also working on investing in a biotech company right now, so I'm reviewing some information. And if it goes forward, I may also do some marketing with them, so you'll hear about that, as well as real estate. And I didn't start real estate early enough or as much as I would have liked to, but I'm finally getting into it somewhat and slowly. I mean, you do what's in your means. Not everybody has, especially with the way the market is. But even if you don't have much money, you can still do real estate. There are ways to do it. Of course, you may need to bring more time into the equation. If you don't have money and you don't have time, well, then maybe real estate's maybe not the best way to go, but there are other things you can do. Sorry about the kids screaming in the background.
No, that's great. Don't worry. This will tell these guys that they have to do stuff so they can be at the beach. So that's perfect. You're a doctor, and people say, "Oh, but how did you learn to do all these things? Where did you learn to do all these things? How do you do all these things?"
Great question. Okay, so let me go back to I passed the boards. I wrote a lot of questions for the pain exam, all that. And I'm like, all right, what do I do? Write a book, put it on a website. I started buying these books. And back then, you would go to a bookstore and buy books. Maybe Amazon only sold books, if it was even around. It probably was around. I think they mainly sold books in 2007. Nothing like today. And I would order these online business books, starting an online business, marketing. Would read these books, get some ideas. It was, it wasn't until I built the first, I paid someone to build the first PainExam website. And believe it or not, and you can't believe, it was $600. I mean, yeah, I know. In this day, I see your face. In this day and age, you can't get much for $600.
I opened my eyes very widely, guys.
Yes. I spent $600 on the first PainExam website. I hired a guy from Cameroon, very thick accent, but he, I got to tell you, he did a great job. And because there was such a niche, it wasn't like the website was so amazing. Between the startup costs of the LLC and the $600 to create PainExam, all in it was about $2,000 just to get it off the ground, which is very cheap to start a business. And within a month or two, it was number one of Google. I was charging a lot less than I'm charging now, and it made back the money that I invested because there was such a big need for such a service. And then there were issues with that website with updates, and I got fed up with my web developer. And web developers, no offense if you're a web developer, a lot of them are like contractors for your house, right? They're always looking for more jobs, and they'll still bill you the same amount of hours, but all of a sudden they get 10 times the amount of work, and they'll still tell you they're working the same amount of hours, so therefore need this. It's kind of like a real difficult thing sometimes, and that's one of those growing pains with a business. So I got fed up. I decided to read a book, watch some YouTube videos, I guess, and learn how to build my own website using this system, which is called Drupal. It's like WordPress, but it's a different platform. Actually built it, and it was decent. But then, of course, you have to worry about cybersecurity, hackers, this and that. So I got some professional help.
How many kids did you have at that time? You're building a website, you're working, you have these things?
I have 3. And one in 2007, one in 2009, another 2013. So yes, that was all going on at once. And I'll tell you, if it wasn't for taking call, I don't know how far I would have gotten. Taking call in a hospital where it was in a Jewish community with Saturday is just not a very busy day. And I would do the Saturday calls, and I would just have some quiet time, 2-3 hours every call. Not every call, but sometimes more, sometimes less, where I could work on these things. So I took the lemon and I made lemonade out of it, right? Being in the hospital on a Saturday, which is really not fun. And I turned it into downtime where I can actually build a business. So at some point I got a web developer, and then I wasn't happy with them. And I transitioned to a new web developer who was pretty much better, definitely much better. But there are certain things that he can do, certain things he can't do, certain things I outsource. Sometimes I do things myself. One of the biggest money savers, as well as, I guess, we're anesthesiologists. We're pain doctors. We went to med school. We could figure almost anything out, right? If you want to learn how to edit video, you can do it. It just takes time, right? If you could run an anesthesia machine or figure out the physiology and all that, please. You can do a YouTube video, you could edit it yourself, you could post it yourself. The question is, what's your time worth? And on some level, your time may not be worth all that time posting, but when you're creating ultrasound content and the person who you're paying to do it doesn't think like a doctor, who really doesn't know, if you have to still show them where the nerve is and explain to them how, or even tell them the timing of, if I'm showing the video of you with the ultrasound in my hand doing this, and the video of the ultrasound footage, and you need them to be coordinated, unless they're very savvy, they may not be able to do it as well as the doctor, unless they're there with you when you're filming it and they're matching up the timings. So a big asset was learning how to do the video editing for my ultrasound courses by myself. And I learned the Apple's Final Cut Pro program. It wasn't very hard to learn. Is the same program that they make like Marvel movies with, I think. So, this stuff is not so expensive. It's doable. It's not so like, people think, I don't know how to do that stuff. You can learn. And it really doesn't take that much time. And of course, with practice, you get fast and you get good. My first few podcasts is from start to finish. I did everything myself. Now I have people helping me because it's not worth the time. But certain things like the ultrasound, where you really want to be very specific about what you're teaching, I'm doing a majority of it myself, and it enabled me to produce more accurately and effective material. And like with the being on call and using my time wisely, we just had a pandemic. And when we had no patients in the office, I was cranking out ultrasound videos. I was creating PowerPoint ultrasound courses. That's why after the pandemic, all of a sudden
So you were not watching TikTok videos, you were
I
not
don't do
watching
TikTok.
Instagram, or just spending time watching movies, Netflix, binging on Netflix.
Netflix, yes, but you know what? I like video games, but the truth is, I never play video games because it's a waste of time. I don't like wasting time. Me at the beach doing nothing is not wasting time. But me on an Xbox is wasting time. So I'm very goal oriented like that, and I kind of look at I guess time is one of the resources you can never make up, and that's why I feel like when I'm here at the beach or out with my family or out with friends, those are the days you can never have enough of, and they're extremely valuable. So that's really the why of, I guess, well, part of the why of why I do everything. The other why is diversification of income. Maybe to have something where I'm part of a large group, I'm a partner in that group, but I can't pass my part in my anesthesia practice down to my kids, right? It's a partnership. It doesn't work that way. But if my kids become a doctor and they're interested in doing pain management, they could possibly take over PainExam, or maybe the business aspect of it, or it may grow into something else. So that's, I think, an important thing.
From what I can tell from the background, they might be good podcasters.
Yeah, they're not my kids though. So my kids aren't even here today. So that's why I'm really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just hanging
well, maybe
out.
Hire those that are behind you to be the podcasters. Yeah.
The stand-ins. Yeah, no, they're just some random kids in the background going crazy.
That's fun. So, one of the things tonight we have a webinar. We were recording this at a point where we have webinars for our upcoming session for our next cohort on Mastermind, and we talk about different things that make successful entrepreneurs. And you've mentioned a lot of them. You've mentioned first you have the passion. In your case, you had a very good passion and interest. You needed an outlet for your creativity. You've also mentioned knowledge. You're acquiring knowledge. So you first had the passion and you say, you know what? I'm going to see how this can be done. And then that's what you did. In your case, you read the books, you studied this, and then you did it yourself. And then here you go. You organize yourself to the time, setting priorities, right? So you have whatever is important, you can make it happen. So in your case, it's important to you to develop these other streams of revenue. It's important to you to develop those pockets of time. So you've been able to do all these things because you've had the passion, you've made it a point to acquire the knowledge, and also to organize your day in such a way that you're just not wasting time.
That's right. And my hour and a half car ride home is spent doing phone calls, which is, using my time effectively, business phone calls, friend phone calls, or listening to podcasts where I gain more knowledge on anything, real estate, the world, business, marketing, audiobooks, anything that I think is useful for enjoyment or useful for business.
So if I was going to ask you, we talked about these three things. Let's see if we have like three specific tips you can give, because we talked about those three already.
Right.
Three other specific tips you can give to some, to our physicians, to our audience who might be on the fence of, is it entrepreneurship? Is this for me? What can it do for me?
I think it's for tips. I think, yes, it's first of all, yes, it's for everybody. And the tips, I would have to say, first tip is consistency. I have a routine. I get in my car and I'm thinking about what my goals are for the day, what's on my to-do list. And I oftentimes will have a list in my phone of what are the pressing things in order that I need to take care of that day. And I never run out of things. There's always something. When you're running a business, especially in this day and age with online business, there's no end to the amount of content you can produce or the amount of things you can do. It's unlimited. So the consistency of trying to be productive and organizing, right? So I guess organized and consistency. And like with my podcast, there are times I don't release an episode for 2 to 3 weeks because either I'm preparing for a workshop or writing a book chapter or something else is going on or vacation. But I'm trying to produce an episode every 1 to 2 weeks. And I think it helps for search engine optimization as well as my audience has asked for it. So it's something I'm trying to keep up with. And it's worthwhile, even though there's no direct financial, it's free, but there's indirect financial benefits. So that's one thing. Consistency, flexibility. Okay. Be flexible of mindset as well as how you structure your day. Mindset, thinking about things from not just your point of view, try to think of it from other people's point of view. Try to be flexible in the sense that, I'm doing this way, but it's not working. I'm not converting. Things aren't working out. I'm not getting what I expect. Let me change it up, or let me humble myself and ask for help. Ask for other people. I mean, I've gone to coaching. I've gone to business coaching. It wasn't a physician business coach, but I did it and it helped. So the flexibility, can be interpreted on so many different levels. But there are things I did, and I've made plenty of business mistakes. It wasn't like everything I do is a home run. I did PainExam, and then I went into other specialties. Some of them actually were successful, but you also need to know yourself. And I can't. At some point, I need to dedicate myself to where my passion is, which is pain management, and what I do all the time, know the best. It's hard for me to, I partnered with a physician assistant, and we created a physician assistant website for their boards. And I just couldn't dedicate the same amount of time for that. So I just let that go when it wasn't getting much traffic. I didn't pursue it. I just basically was flexible and I cut it off and moved on.
So there you go, guys. There's something available there for you to do, just in case you want to think about a business.
Yeah, right. Really, there are so many opportunities. If you listen to different podcasts about medicine, business, real estate, trading, there really is, thank God, we live in a country and a day and age where you have the world at your fingertips. If you're a busy physician, you want to do real estate, well, you can invest with other people, or you can just do a turnkey, where somebody else is managing it. You pay a premium for it, but at least you're not getting called in the middle of the night when the toilet breaks.
Excellent. So let us tell our audience how they can get a hold of you and your services. Like, you have all these things that you're doing. What would you tell them? Where can they go to get more of Dr. David Rosenblum?
Okay, well, first of all, if they want me as a coach, I'd say go through Myrdalis, and she'll be my agent. Second of all,
maxillor.com.
That's right, maxillor.com. And in terms of learning ultrasound or advancing your pain repertoire, whether you're a pain doctor or not, everybody treats pain to some degree. Go to PainExam.com. The events page has our events, and that really features the ultrasound courses. We have upcoming courses, hopefully regenerative medicine stuff. Well, we already have one online regenerative medicine for spine disease course. That's already there. It's a webinar replay. Pain management board review or refresher, you could just go there to PainExam and you can sign up for that. And as far as the International Pain Academy goes, so far the only product available is the 3-day board review live webinar that I did with Dr. El Said, and that's available. And you get CME credits for all this. And then we have the international stuff coming up. So if you want to come to New York, you want to meet me in Costa Rica or Israel or wherever we're going to go for our next course, just go to the events page of PainExam and you'll find it. And I hope to see you there.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being with us. Thanks for all new knowledge, experience. We're very excited that, to listen to all these stories that really tell you there's some consistency to their stories, and you have just shown up. You have habits, you have your passion, acquiring knowledge, looking for coaching. So thank you for sharing us. Have a great day at the beach.
Thank you for having me. It was really a pleasure. And really, really good luck to everyone. And thank you again.
Well, guys, that's it for today. Stay tuned for more of our Design Your Physician Life podcast, which was brought to you today by our Maxillor Mastermind, an exclusive mastermind for physician entrepreneurs. We'll continue to bring you useful resources to develop your physician entrepreneur life, like we did today with Dr. Rosenblum. You can actually find him and connect with him at PainExam.com. Also listen to his podcast, The PainExam. Thank you for joining us. We hope you had a great time as we did. Stay in touch with us. Visit our website, maxallure.com. That is MAXALLURE. And please don't forget to subscribe, like us, give us 5 stars, and share the love. Share with your friends and family. See you later. Bye.
Please remember that Design is not providing specific financial, medical, or career advice. Our only intent is to stimulate your appetite for growth by sharing our experience and those of our speakers, coaches, and guests. Your personal growth and success will be unique to your circumstances and your hard work. We sincerely hope you enjoyed the show and look forward to seeing you next week.